Can everybody hear me? Right, my name's Ollie Bell. I have very recently joined CIMSPA as Director of Membership Services, so just 2 weeks in, so who knows how this is going to go. But we'll see how we get on. So firstly, I just want to say a massive thanks to Phil, My PT Hub, and Lewis, Tom, and the rest of the team for putting on an event that brings together operators, employers, training providers, suppliers as a facilitator at CIMSPA. Our goal is to do this regularly, so for an independent company to set this up and obviously announce the innovations that they've made. Big round of applause for the team. My journey with Phil and the guys actually goes back to a previous life about 6 months ago where we first met and kind of shared the same ethos, values, shared vision for the way that we see the sector developing, and that was the start of kind of a lot of work that's kind of centered around education and development and that kind of thing as well. I'm doing something now that I promised I wouldn't do. I said to Phil I would never visit these offices again, because I took a bit of a confidence knock, because he didn't actually tell me that he recruits directly from Abercrombie and Fitch here. Everyone just looks incredible. So I think he finally, he twisted the knife today when he went, I said to him, look, I'm 2 weeks in, but I'll come and stand up and do a presentation about CIMSPA, because I've known them for a little bit. Just let me know who I'm after. And he went, Jamie Alderton. So I said, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about the sector and the way that it's developing. I'm going to be able to give you guys a bit of foresight about what's around the corner when it comes to CIMSPA. So I'll ask you a quick question while we're waiting for all of this to come through. So can you just raise your hand if you know who CIMSPA are? Excellent. So probably about half the room for anyone watching on the cameras. That's about 50% of the room. Just again, put your hand up if you don't know who CIMSPA are. Good. Anyone care to elaborate on the abbreviation? What does CIMSPA stand for? Fantastic. And their role, very good. Was that Paul? Very good, Paul. 10 points. CIMSPA's vision is to shape a recognised and respected sport and physical activity sector that everybody wants to be a part of. So, essentially, what I'm going to do today, having sat kind of where you guys have been sat, I've been training provider background for the last 3 years, is being in 2 weeks and starting to see under the hood. It's actually a really great position for me to be in, because I'm starting to look at the strategic objectives that CIMSPA have set, but I'm constantly relating them back to our world and where we sit. So all I'm going to do to start with, I'm just going to create 3 scenarios, and I want a little bit of two-way in this. I don't want it all to be me pushing information at you guys. So I'm going to ask some questions. We're going to explore some different scenarios that I think will bring to life these 3 main strategic objectives that CIMSPA is working on, and then we'll get down into the detail after that, and I'll share with you some of the more detailed bits that CIMSPA are doing out in the sector. Okay, so the first one, cross-sector partnership network enhancing employability. So let's move away from the management speak for a second. Put your hand up if you are responsible for or can influence hiring someone in your business. If you've got end decision or you can make recommendations, good. Again, about 50-60% of the room. Okay, now could somebody please shout out what is considered to be one of the top 3 sports universities in the UK? Loughborough, any more? Bath, good. Great, let's take Loughborough. So one of the top, considered to be the top sports university in the UK. What is the top mark you can get on a Bachelor of Science degree in, say, sports science? What's the top grade you can get? First. Excellent. Okay, great. So so Loughborough University, first class degree. Put your hand up now, those people that can influence or make decisions on recruitment. If you would be interested, if I could introduce you to a gentleman that's 22 years old, that went to that university, that got that mark, and that's also got county cricket experience. Put your hands up if you'd like to meet that person. Why not? So that was 0 for the cameras. Why would you not want to meet that person? Say again. They're in the top 1 percentile, my friend. They went to the top university, they got a first class degree. Would you not want to introduce them to your business? Absolutely, but this is the problem. So this is the problem we're starting to experience. No one knows when you finish university what grade you've got, whether that actually aligns or maps to a job. So Danny, who was actually meant to be here presenting with me today, not because I'm 2 weeks in and haven't quite got my head around the content yet, he was being tested, because I think it's important to share the stage with people. Danny actually is 22 years old, he's your cricketer, and when he left university, he didn't get offered a job either. So CIMSPA's role is actually to start developing not just an ecosystem of excellence around training and employability opportunities. What our goal is to do is to bring together higher education so that actually when you come out of university with a sports science degree and you get a first, that you actually have a mapping career pathway that takes you directly to an employer, so your certificate is considered to allow you to say that you are work ready, you're fit for purpose, fit for a role. And that's what's missing at the moment. What skills does a sports scientist have, and is it relevant to business? Well, I can tell you, if you met Danny, you'd say, absolutely, that guy's a real talent. But what's happening is because we're not creating these pathways, people are dropping out and leaving our sector. Okay, and they're going off to better roles. Jamie's stat earlier on, 19,000. That's about right, considering the research that we've seen. 19,000 for a PT. We recently did a survey and we found that 17,000 is the average salary across the sector in leisure, coaching, etc., etc. So not massively high. So that's the first thing that we want to do, is we want to create cross-sector partnership networks. We want to bring HE together, so all of the universities. We want to create a relationship with the employers so that we can put real talent in touch with those employment opportunities straight off the bat. Okay, second scenario, workforce development, developing an employer-led ecosystem of excellence. So again, a bit of management speak there. Phil said that he was worried his was going to be political, so I was quietly laughing when he said that. So Sainsbury's axing 5,000 jobs. Barclays bosses confirm thousands of job cuts, and more than 6 million workers fear being replaced by machines. So why are these relevant? Again, anyone want to hazard a guess as to why these are on the screen? Yeah, it is very timely, especially if you get masterclass as well. So what you've got is you've got all of these big organizations that are finding ways for technology are innovating. And technology, you can't stop it. We've just sat through a 100-odd slide update on how far My PT Hub are taking their technology. New features, new services, better user experience, all of those kind of things. So we can't stop that, but the byproduct of that is it means that we start replacing workers. Manual tasks, it goes back millions of years. Manual tasks are being replaced as we innovate and technology makes more headway. So when we look at things like Sainsbury's and McDonald's, it's quite easy to see why these job cuts are happening, because actually we can get a virtual terminal that will do, and often a better job than an individual would do in taking an order. It's quicker, these things can upsell, they can cross-sell, they can take payment information, they also collect the data a lot better than an individual that's having a conversation. So when we look at our sector and we look at gyms and leisure centres and any public leisure facility, we need to look at the technology that's coming in and what could potentially replace the roles of tomorrow. So what we need to do is this ecosystem of excellence is we need to know what's coming around the corner, because these things, if they were in a leisure centre, could essentially pick up what I'm signing in for, what activity, how long I'm going to spend playing that activity, what category that falls into. Am I playing badminton, tennis? It's going to know from my membership information whether I'm a male, female, age, how often I visit the centre. And at the moment, that is, again, far more intelligent than a lot of the data we get from speaking to someone at reception. So what we need to do, again, as CIMSPA, is we want to speak to employers, training providers, and facilitate a conversation around what is coming around the corner and how do we make sure that our staff are ready for it and our industry is ready for it, and then develop effective training programs to deliver that content. The one person at Sainsbury's within those self-checkouts that keeps their job has got what? Usually the best communication skills, and they can use technology. So based on that, what we need to be working on is programs and training programs that start to build in those skills. And that's what's been missing from the sector a little bit. And this is a nice analogy because I think the final thing that I know that CIMSPA has an ambition to achieve is to create a membership service and a value proposition so good that it's independent of anything else. And this GU case study, is anyone aware of how GU managed to get their products into supermarkets? They were really struggling. They did the whole pitch thing. They went to Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco's. None of them would take an order. They said it's too premium, tastes great, but no one's going to pay that money for a luxury dessert. It doesn't exist. People will eat yogurts and blah, blah, blah. So GU had a situation where none of the retailers they wanted to stock their products would take it. They said, right, forget the 20 grand that we're going to spend on marketing. Let's build the products, let's box them, and let's get a little guerrilla team to make some shelf space and just put them on the shelves. So they went into Sainsbury's, Tesco's and Asda and they did this and they stocked the shelves, and then they called up at the end of the day and they said, Mr. Sainsbury's in Horsham, have you been having problems at your tills? And they said, yes, of course, we've got these unbarcoded products being taken to the tills. And they went, see, people are buying them. So then they went to head office, and that was the start of GU. That's a true story. That's actually what happened. So what the comparison that I would draw here is that we have an ambition, whether the employer or whether the institution or the organization, and we're talking cross-sector here, so I'm talking about major football clubs, I'm talking about major gym chains, large operators, everybody, whether they value or want to spend time developing things with CIMSPA, developing standards with us or not, we want to create a value proposition so good for the individual that they want to become a member regardless of whether their employer pays for them or not. This is something that they take with them and a badge that they wear. And that's what it's about for us. It's this kite mark of quality. Jamie, how long have you spent in the fitness industry, PTing or business building? 7 years. Okay. At the moment, there is nothing to differentiate Jamie from a guy that's just stepped into a gym in his second week, right? There is nothing. And that's what we're working on at CIMSPA, is we're saying, what is this kite mark of quality? How can we create different levels of membership where you can move through the ranks and you can wear that badge of honor to say, actually, I know what I'm talking about. So as the presentation goes on, I just want to dip into some of the content that Danny was going to share and talk to you about some of the progress that CIMSPA have made over the last 3 or 4 years. So in 15, 16 and 2018, Sport England created a strategy. 2018 was particularly good for CIMSPA because the working in an active nation document actually named CIMSPA as the professional body for the sector to drive the sector forward. So in that initial strategy, the aim was to improve the quality of physical activity workforce to ensure those accessing the service have the best possible experience of the sector. So that involves developing a clear set of professional standards. So linking back to the analogy earlier on with the university, what does it mean when you walk out with a first? What skills have you actually got? And how do we then communicate that to employers? Identifying career development pathways. So just because someone's a PT now at age 30 doesn't necessarily mean that they will want to be a PT at age 45. They might want to move across or up into a different field. But again, what system is there in place to allow someone to promote those skills that they've got throughout becoming a PT and serving as a PT for 15 years? They've probably picked up a little bit about sales and marketing. They've probably managed and coached a couple of PTs, so they've got some management skills. At the moment, apart from potentially LinkedIn, there's no real way within the sector to demonstrate the skills that you've learned and actually put yourself forward. And finally, creating a new qualification and training approach. So making sure that, again, linking back to the technology piece, that we are creating training programs that are fit for purpose. So when the gyms, back in the day, flipped the gym model and went, no, we're not employing PTs anymore, we're actually going to charge you a gym rent and you can keep all the money you earn. What didn't happen was the standards that get you the personal training certificate didn't change. So what happened was there were a load of very good technical personal trainers coming out with qualifications, yet day one they walk into a job where they have to pay £400 out for gym rent, and they've learnt no sales, no marketing, no communication skills. They don't know how to pitch, frame, negotiate, account, because all of this was left off the standards. So what we need to do is make sure that as the sector changes and the landscape changes, we're at the forefront of that, and we make sure that the training programs that the training provider partners deliver map to those standards, because we've worked with the employers, because we know what's going on and what's coming soon. So CIMSPA are named throughout the Sport England strategy. That's great. It's really good news because it's the first time, again, an arm's length from government organisation. It's very rare to get named in this strategy, so CIMSPA are now really being seen as the organisation to take the sector forward. February 2017, 3,000 members of CIMSPA. After we were named in the Sport England strategy, 12,000 members. So we're starting to grow. One day we might even be as cool as Phil and have 80,000 members. Strong sector, cross-sector partnership growth. So 2017, 55, 134. So we're starting to gain momentum with the employer partners who feed into developing these standards. Training providers, up to 150, and that's likely to increase quite a lot between now and December. I'll tell you why later. Education partners, none to 14. This is our higher education, so looking at the universities and creating those relationships. And finally, awarding organisations. That looks small, but if I told you there's only 15, we're doing all right. Personal credibility. So how do we build the credibility of the individual? So again, they want to become and stay as a CIMSPA member throughout their career. Well, we're going to create membership categories. So Danny, who I talked about earlier, the cricketer that's come out of university that no one wants to speak to, he joined CIMSPA as a student, okay? So the university will cover his membership, costs £5 for the year. And he gets access to all of the training providers, all of the endorsed content, and he's also got a professional body backing him, so he can wear the badge while he's studying. Then he comes out, he becomes a graduate, and then the moment he gets his first job, he can apply for CIMSPA membership, which means he gets to wear the crest, he's got access to the platform, he's got access to all of the training providers and all the different career opportunities in one place. As he then progresses and develops more skills, he becomes a chartered member. So actual personal trainers of tomorrow, we want to become chartered members. The same prestige that you associate with a physiotherapist, we want personal trainers to carry that, because as we know, the role is adapting and changing. It's now not just counting reps or writing programs. You're expected to be a counsellor, and you're expected to be on all hours and able to service your clients, and you're expected to know a little bit about working online and those kind of things. So what we want to do is, as people develop, we want to give them that recognition, that higher status, so that that equals new career opportunities and potentially new job roles. And finally, working right through to the highest level of membership, which is your chartered fellow. So being able to, over a few year period, be able to submit like a portfolio which showcases the work that you've done, the experience you've got, and you can apply for the highest tier of CIMSPA membership there as well. So this may not make much sense. So we talk predominantly within exercise and fitness, because most of us are all within kind of that area of the sector. So before you had levels, so you had fitness instructor, PT, level 2, level 3, level 4, that was what it would have looked like. Now we're much more focused around creating job roles. So again, all of the employer-led work, they tell us what the roles are, and then we create the standards that map to those roles. So we've got fitness instructor, we've got PT, and you'd work through that. But what we were is quite tunnel vision within the sector, so that someone would step in as a fitness instructor and they would stay in that stream. But like I was saying earlier, there's nothing to say that they haven't acquired skills as a PT manager that might actually mean that in 10 years' time, when they want to look elsewhere or do a different role, they couldn't jump into leisure ops and manage a region of leisure centres and look at P&L and look at EBITDA and look at management reporting into board, those things. They may be developing or have those skills. So what we're starting to create as we fill the roles in here is a sector-wide matrix that says, if you're in this position and you would like to do this position, because that's where you would like your career to take you, these are the missing skills that you've got. Here's a load of training providers you can go and spend some time with studying, and here's a list of jobs and employers that you can speak to as well. So this starts to develop out the matrix so that people can move across as well as up and down within their sector, within their area of the sector. And what this all feeds into is a national workforce register. So again, another piece of ongoing work with Sport England that CIMSPA engaged in is working to get to a place where we have a national workforce register and we're responsible for it. So what that means is, in the same way that we had the football scandal and we've had a few other scandals fairly recently in different sports, we don't know, and the government don't know when shit hits the fan, who is actually working in this sector. So it's easy in medical, it's easy in legal, because you have a professional body. So we're starting to move to that point. So parents, for the parents in the room, if your child's going out to a football club, we don't often know what the experience or what the qualification level or even the insurance is, or assurance associated with that coach that's delivering the session. So we want to get to a place where the National Workforce Register becomes that directory, so that at a touch of a button you can look and see if the coach has the relevant endorsements, qualifications, and safeguarding to be able to work or run a session with your children. So that's where we're working towards. That's ongoing, but we can bid for that in the very near future. And that is a little overview of CIMSPA. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.